In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all? Or at least have fun trying? Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog. Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy whose cockiness is always on full display, the chicken. What up, dog?
And you're welcome.
Yeah, and look, I don't want to forget that we have the ever so talented, ever so youthful, smart B-Dawg. What up, dog?
What's going on?
Oh man, just glad
Appreciate
to
the
be.
kind words. Kind
Uh,
words of yours.
well, I try. Um, but anyway, look, guys, this is the show that we're going to recap Tennessee's season. But before we do that, there's a couple things that I want to bring up. One is we've had a lot of comments here recently on a couple of our reels that we put out there, and one that has seen the most comments was, the top five teams in the SEC coming into this year. I mean, we've had a ton of comments on there, back and forth, and I want to do them justice, and I want to bring those up, so hopefully it would encourage people to comment more. There was a guy on there named Troy. Look, man, definitely an arrogant Alabama fan. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. Like I've said many a times, I think Alabama fans have kind of the right to be arrogant. 18 national championships. I mean, you're good. You've been good. But he made, he made this comment because one of the comparisons that we did on that was we talked about the 2019 LSU team and then the 2020 Alabama team. And he said that the 2020 Alabama team would have smoked the 2019 LSU team. Now, I don't know if that's true. And there was a lot of comments, well, it was a COVID year and this and that. The one thing is we'd never know. So,
You wouldn't have known during the COVID year either. And that was one of the things you and I talked about off camera, was that you never knew during that season who was going to play, whether they would have opted out the whole season or not, who was going to play from one game to the next, what protocol would have been in play during that 2020 season. Now, obviously, Alabama had a great run, had a great year that year. So not to take anything away from them, but to say in that it's just two entirely different ball games, really. Two entirely different ball games. I mean, LSU had full use of their roster without the question of COVID in 2019. Alabama did not. So there'll never be a way, and there wouldn't be, to compare those two on an equal field.
can we get AI to simulate what that would have looked like? Come on. That would be fun to watch. Kind of like, would Rocky Balboa beat Mike Tyson? I don't know.
Absolutely, because Rocky would keep getting up.
That's right. Um, Adrian might come back, help him out. You never know. Look, so some of the other comments that we had, Darian gave me his top five. Because a lot of people asked the comment or made a comment about, South Carolina coming in the top five. That's ridiculous. And I would always respond, what would be your top five? And he was one that came back and told me what his top five was. And he said Georgia and Texas, hands down. Uh, Bama and LSU, maybe. And he says, then the last spot is really just questionable. You just don't know. So I
Sounds like there's room for the Gamecocks in there.
yes. So you're saying there's a chance.
There's a chance.
Another comment, the guy couldn't really figure out his name and it wouldn't let me. It says his comment was kind of like that guy that I talked to while I was in Alabama a month or so ago. That bartender, when he was at that restaurant or that hotel, was saying that he doesn't believe Bama's season is going to be that great this year, blah, blah, blah. This guy said Bama is a disaster, said at best 8-4, but more than likely 6-6.
Wow.
I said, whoa. So I'm sure Senior Chief would probably love to comment on that. And so, Senior Chief, if you're listening, go onto the YouTube and find that reel and comment. Let's get some stuff going, guys. So
it's
look,
a video. It's our top 5 early predictions video.
Yeah. So
but
go ahead.
I'll make sure that when we talk about specific comments, they're going to see it on screen. So the guy with his profile picture and his name, they'll be there.
Okay. That'll be great.
Oh yeah.
So look, we love the comments. This is something that the Chicken and I have been longing to start getting some of these feedback from you guys. So keep it coming. We'll mention you on the show, and we love it. Chicken, you want to say anything else about that?
No. The only thing that I would echo is, we all like to think that we're experts at this, especially if we're SEC fans, right? Like we believe that we know this game better than any other conference for sure. Anything that we put out there, first off, we don't claim to be experts, although I am. But if you've got a counter to our logic, okay, tell us about it. Don't just sit there and make the comment that, oh, the dog just likes hanging his tongue out and wagging his tail. This is true, but you're going to need to supply some supporting evidence to your claim. So don't just come out there, and I forget who the user was, and you are welcome to it. I welcome your comments that the chicken is just the, what did he say? I had the lowest football IQ on the planet or something. Okay, I disagree immensely, but if you say so, back it up.
Yeah.
Tell me your top 5, and it better not be Alabama, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee, and Oklahoma, because they're constant powerhouses. Shut up and go to the back of the bus.
Yeah, shout out Cousin Eddie for that comment.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, look, don't come out with us and say that Vanderbilt's going to win it all, and then we would really question your football IQ. So, something else we've talked about this. It's been several months ago, but they've come out with a new one. So, this is after transfer portal, after spring games, after a lot of the dust has settled. They have now come out with a way too early top 25. So I'm just going to run through these real quick. I'm sure the Chicken's going to have some things, and maybe the B-Dawg will have some comments here and there. I want to spend too much time on it so we can really get into Tennessee season. But they got Ohio State at number 1. Okay. I'm probably okay with that. Texas, number 2. They believe Arch is the guy. He's the real deal. He's going to live up to the hype. Maybe not. I guess we'll see in a few months, because they two open up with each other. Week 1, Texas plays Ohio State. Oh my, that should be a fun game to watch, and I don't think it'll be at noon. Next, I got Penn State, then Clemson. I think Clemson potentially. Penn State. Drew Aller's coming back. Maybe he'll be too. Maybe that's about right. They got Georgia at 5, Oregon 6, Notre Dame 7, LSU 8, Alabama 9, Florida 10. I think that Florida at number 10 is crazy. I think they're hinging everything on DJ Lagway. And as we discussed before, Lenore Sellers is better than DJ Lagway. He's going to carry his team better than DJ Lagway. And I would almost say that I think South Carolina and Florida should switch because they got Carolina at 22. The one thing that they talked about Carolina is Lenore Sellers and the defense. And I think your young, incredible defense at Carolina is going to really shine this year. We talk about that a lot, but I really think that they're good. But look, let's piss every South Carolina Gamecock fan off, right? And put them in at 22, where they probably deserve in the top 10. Miami 11, Illinois 12, K-State 13, BYU 14, TCU at 15.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Michigan 16, Arizona State 17. How is Arizona State going to be any good without Scatterbo? I don't know. Oklahoma 18, no. Iowa State 19, Tennessee 20, Texas Tech 21, South Carolina 22, Louisville 23, SMU 24, and Auburn made the top 25. So I think whoever came up with this needs to lay off the crack pipe.
Where'd you get this list from?
CBS Sports.
CBS Sports? Jeez.
Yeah.
So everybody has to try to do something to make themselves relevant. And here we are in May with a I would argue, way too early top 25. And let's think about it for a minute. Does it matter? It's a 12-team playoff. Half of y'all ain't doing nothing at best. At best.
That's right. That's right. So at the end of the day, it'll all get played out within 13 weeks.
That's right.
So I can't wait, man. It's getting close. Not soon enough, but I can start to smell it a little bit. The smell of college football. All right, so B, you got anything else you want to say on the top 25 before we go into Tennessee?
I think the fact that you have, one in Tennessee, two in Florida, and three in, I don't know, just two teams over South Carolina. I know we're kind of South Carolina and Oklahoma. I know we're kind of, a South Carolina-centric show half of the time, but I think that's ridiculous. Should be top 15 at worst.
After their showing, I know it's a new year, but they got a lot of returning people back. Lenore Sellers, top wide receivers coming back. Correct me if I'm right. What's his name? Chicken.
Nick Harbor?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good. Nick Harbor, Gage Laverdan, both those guys are going to be back there this year. There'll be some new faces. It's not a complete overhaul in the running game. But we'll see some guys that put up numbers last year. But both sides of the ball are going to be strong again. I'm not going to get into we should be ranked here or there or these guys or those guys. Again, it's how hard, how desperately are you trying to come up with something when you put Oklahoma in there? And Oklahoma, not that I think that Tennessee should be ranked below South Carolina, but certainly Oklahoma should not be ranked above both of those schools. Florida, you want to put them in there? Okay, fine. But in the top 10, what is it that Florida showed? Here's my question. What did Florida show to be ranked 10 that South Carolina did not to be ranked 22nd? Again,
nothing.
Come with something that supports your claim or be quiet.
Yes. I agree with that. Shut your hole if you're just gonna, come in with just something that's just stupid. That just you can't, like you said, you can't support what you're giving out there. You just can't. So I thought that was
Lagway even going to stay healthy?
That's a good question.
Stay healthy?
That's a good question.
He's got a shoulder issue currently, right?
Yep.
Have I heard the reports correctly?
Yep.
Yeah. Lagway's got issues. Lenore Sellers got hurt, but he only missed one game last year. Other than that, he's a healthy guy. He's ready to go. I've talked to some people that have some insight into the locker room, man. They said he's looking good. He's gelling with the players well. I think he's going to be a force to be reckoned with for the South Carolina Gamecocks. I do.
Not to mention they have the better coach. Come on.
Yes, we do.
The Fighting Flobies. All right, so let's jump right into Tennessee's season, and it was It was, yeah, not bad. It was actually pretty stinking good at the end of the day. Um, they opened up with Chattanooga, beat them 69-3, as you should have. NC State, number 24, NC State. They came to Knoxville and they beat them 51-10. I think everybody at that point knew NC State was not going to be good. Kent State they played Kent State 71-0. Oklahoma was close, 25-15, but Oklahoma at the time was ranked 15. They went to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they lost to the Fighting Pittmans 19-14. That was a big blow for them. Then they turned right around and took on Florida and beat them in overtime 23-17. Then they took on number 7 Alabama at home in Knoxville, and they beat Alabama 24-17. Took on the Mighty Stoops, Kentucky, and beat them 28-18. Then they took on Mississippi State, beat them 33-14. Everybody beat Mississippi State this year, these poor guys. Then you came to the motherland, Athens, and took on UGA, and we beat you 31-17. Then you bounced back, you did really good the next week, and you beat UTEP 56-0. Took on the Anchor Downs and beat them 36-23, which catapults you into the playoffs. And you were the first of the 3 SEC teams to make the playoffs, or one of the 3, should I say. And you took on Ohio State.
And got throttled.
Oh, my gosh. It was ugly. You got beat 42-17. Not a good showing for the SEC. You did not represent us well at all. And do better next time.
Assuming there is one.
Yeah. So, all in all, regular season, man, you went 10-2. Then you lost in your first playoff appearance. But, I mean, all in all, a good season. However, not as strong. I mean, I don't know, man. You got a lot of weak teams in there that they played, in my opinion. The bottom tier of the SEC. Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Kentucky. I mean, those are a lot of teams that, I mean, you got to look at, again, we talk about top 25, top 5 SEC teams. I mean, you got to look at who the big boys are. You got to look at Georgia. You got to look at LSU. You got to look at Alabama. I think you put Carolina at the bottom end of that. You got to look at Ole Miss. You look at Texas. Those 6 teams right there are strong. Those are your strong teams. And you play 2 of them, 2 out of the 6. So your schedule isn't as hard, or wasn't as hard as it could have been last season. And again, I guess you could say this season.
Scheduling is one of those things that outside of Kent State and Chattanooga, you have no way of knowing how these other teams are going to shake out. For example, Oklahoma comes into the year ranked. They're 15th in the nation at the time of contest with them and the Volunteers. Who knew that Oklahoma was going to have such a poor year overall by Oklahoma standards? NC State is ranked at the beginning of the year. They didn't really play out well. Kentucky's one of those schools that over the past, decade, maybe 15 years, they've been a pretty competitive football program. Not at all. I was going to say not so much, but not at all in 2024. So how the schedule shakes out, and then you look at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt should be a walk-off game against, for a Tennessee. Well, they beat them, but Vandy had a good year. by Vanderbilt standards. So how the schedule shakes out is just really how it's going to shake out in terms of true strength of schedule. My big thing for Tennessee this year was when you look at the Arkansas loss. For Tennessee to have been as good as they hoped to be coming into the year, and in my estimation, this does not reflect on Alabama, Ole Miss, and South Carolina missing out on the playoffs. Don't anybody try and assume that I said that. I didn't. But in my estimation, losing the way that they did to Arkansas when Arkansas had a yay year, that wasn't a good look for a team that got into a 12-team playoff for a national championship game. To me, that was when you started seeing that maybe there was some unrest behind the Tennessee curtain.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, we know what happened to Tennessee after the season, right? What happened with their quarterback, and what I'm gonna go back to some of the comments that we made on one of the reels that we did. We talk about Nico leaving. It may have been your beautiful rendition reel. I don't know. When you talked about Nico, but one of the comments was, I knew he wasn't going to stay anyway, because if you really look at his last name and how it looks, it's Iamaleava. So I thought that was a pretty cool comment, very funny. You definitely made the dog laugh on that one for sure. But if he had that attitude, we saw who he was at the end of the season.
Oh,
if
for
he
sure.
was that guy, right? If he was that guy going at the end of the season, he was that guy during the season. And so that probably carried into the locker room, I'm assuming. And so, yeah, there was probably some disconnect in there, like you said.
Yeah, and we can go down a different rabbit path another day as far as NIL and transfer portal and all that. But what sticks out to me, the subtext in the Nico story is this kid was a freshman. And you talk about what the climate is in that locker room. You have arguably the most important position on the field for a football team. Not offense or defense, period. And that is the quarterback. He, as a freshman, is trying to come into this environment where he's paid what he's paid. Other guys, other vets on the team aren't making that much money, right? You can't erase that from a college kid's mentality. And he's in the most important position trying to lead this ball club. What's that like in the clubhouse there? I don't know. I don't think that it played out well. I think that's why you're looking at 2 losses in the regular season. Don't want to take anything away from Georgia. But most importantly, I think that points a big, nasty, ugly finger at the throttling that you got from the Buckeyes. 42-17. Tell me you don't belong in the playoffs without saying we don't belong in the playoffs.
Yeah. The scoreboard speaks volumes on that, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
You know, kind of going back some of the things that you were just saying, man, to me, it's kind of twofold. I think, and we talked about leaders, right? We talk about a leader on the field, and you're right. The most important job out of the 22 that's on the field is your quarterback. He is supposed to be the leader of your team. People are supposed to look up to this guy, want to follow this guy, and whatever. We talked about, who's a better leader, Lenore Sellers or DJ Lagway. And you and I would argue that, and I think, or not argue, but you and I would agree, and I think even B-Dawg agreed that Lenore Sellers is a better leader on the field and with his team than a DJ Lagway. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, after one season out there and then leaving and doing it the way he did, this kid is not a leader at all. And he won't be a leader in LSU. I mean, UCLA, excuse me. He won't. He
won't be at LSU either.
He will not be at LSU.
No.
Nussmeier will be there. Yeah. So I just don't see that he's definitely doesn't show the characteristics. That's a mid-sized word for me. Not big, but it's mid-size, and I'll take the win. But it just, to me, doesn't show that he's a leader, and I just don't think that his future, as far as an athlete, whether it's college or pro athlete after that, I just don't think it'll be great. I just don't think the kid's got it. The other thing I was thinking about this, and you and I could talk about this quite a bit, is that kind of mentality goes off, in a locker room. Yes, you gotta hold it to Nico. It's his attitude. But who's ultimately responsible for the locker room and to tamper that down and keep it? And as Josh Heupel, is he the guy that can keep that down? Kirby Smart, it keeps that stuff down. I mean, you look at how many people don't leave Georgia, enter the portal. It's pretty low. You look at, especially in the key position of a quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, even Carson Beck. These guys waited their turn. Vander Griffgroff waited his turn until he realized that Beck was going to get it again, is going to come back. So he went to Kentucky, and that played out really well for him. But, well, there may have been a little sarcasm in there. I don't know.
Well, I mean, maybe he likes horses, and there are a lot of horses up there, so maybe
so. But Josh Heupel, man, I mean, but you got Gunnar Stockton that's been waiting. Now it's his turn. Kirby Smart knows how to do that. I think Shane Beamer knows how to do that with the players at Carolina. Can Josh Heupel do it?
I think that with the current coaching landscape, I think Josh Heupel is the guy for Tennessee. I don't know who else you put there. It ain't going to be your boy. They like throwing things at him.
Oh, yeah, they don't like him there.
So who else do you put at the University of Tennessee? The University of Tennessee, make no mistake, is a big-name program. It was a mistake, in my less than humble opinion, the way that they tried to move on with various younger coaches over the past several years. They tried to give Vince Dooley's son a shot at being a head coach. That didn't work out. They went with Lane for about 5 minutes. That didn't work out. They went with Jeremy Pruitt for another 15 minutes of fame. That didn't work out. I mean, they've got to find, and I believe that Heupel is that fit. They've got to find a fit that they can roll with for a while and begin to build something. Otherwise, if you keep just riding this thing, trying to find the next flashy guy to do something special, the wheels are going to continue to come off until there are no wheels left.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that for sure. I mean, I'm not saying that Heupel's not, Josh, your boy is not the guy. He may be, or he may be the best that they can get at this point. And maybe that's more of a correct statement.
I think he's doing great. I think, look, you can watch Josh Heupel. If you get an image of his playing days at Oklahoma versus the way he looks now, he's on the Phil Fulmer diet plan already. So he's transforming himself into that guy.
Yes, he is. Pretty soon he's going to go coach at Illinois. He's going to wear the quarter zip all the way up. I mean, he's on his way.
Got to do whatever you can to hide that turkey neck.
Hey, easy, man.
Oh.
Fat with a PH.
Fat with a PH. That's right.
Got his doctorate.
So
I like that.
So think about this, though, man. I think it's harder to tamper down the locker room right now. Years past, it was you had to deal with egos, but you didn't have to deal with rich egos. Now, now you're dealing with rich egos, and and it's all becoming about the dollar. So, and I think there's a potential. I don't know when that court case is supposed to happen, when the ruling is on the university's plan, but I know that that's coming up. So it could get even nastier in the very near future.
Yeah, and they've got to get some more regulation involved in this. You know, one of the things that I read, and it's been several weeks since I read it, so forgive me. I think it was on ESPN.com. Was when you're talking about pro athletes, NFL players, they've got an agent, hopefully an educated one, steering them in contract negotiations, which organizations to pursue opportunity with, and things of that nature. When you've got these young men, uh, do I want to go to Tennessee? Do I want to go to Oklahoma? Do I want to go to Notre Dame? Whatever. They have multiple influences in their decision making processes. From what I understand, again, this is having read an article, one of the influences may or may not have been a family member of Nico's just trying to get a little taste for themselves. And hey, Nico's making, I think, what, 4 million at the time at Tennessee. Let's see if we can't get him 8. Quinn Ewers has offered a bunch of money. Maybe Nico could get a bunch more, and there'll be a little piece in it for me. And the next thing you know, Nico is a garage sale quarterback. Now, granted, he's making more than I do. But
Right now.
yeah, right now, I don't have any non-dependent family members sticking their hand in my face. So there's that, Nico.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm sure. I think it was his dad that said, "Can a brother get a little bit?" And it didn't work out too well for him
No.
at all, at all. So, but getting back to their particular season, this last season, it was. I mean, like I said, it was. I mean, 10-2. They were the third best team on paper in the SEC. I would. I don't think. I think you could have argued that Ole Miss and I would even say South Carolina and Alabama would have played Ohio State a lot better than Tennessee did. Maybe his agent was already looking when it comes that week, and maybe that happened. Maybe that messed everything up. I don't
It
know.
was happening. He
Yeah.
in December, yeah, the reports
That's
came
right.
out that he was already trying to fish around before the playoffs even began.
Yeah, he was doing that, as well as some of these agents began to try and push the narrative that these NIL deals were for the regular season and a conference playoff, or excuse me, a conference championship opportunity. However, that there should be some type of a bonus structure to getting into the 12 team playoffs, and maybe even if you make it to the championship game, and then even more so, kind of they want to structure things the same way that these NFL players have, where cool, you're going to pay me this salary, but I get a bonus of this based on X yards. I get a bonus of this based on a division championship. I get a bonus of this for the playoffs, and so on and so forth. That's what some of these agents, and I believe Nico's agent was one of them, that's what they're trying to push. That wasn't part of the deal that you signed last year. I don't know what you got now, but it wasn't part of the original deal. And so that he still took the field against Ohio State, but that does create that backdrop drama with the rest of the team in the locker room. You can't ignore it.
No, I don't think you can at all. I mean, I don't think you can ignore the drama and the personality that came with Shedeur Sanders. I think you could definitely relate that to what happened with him in the draft. It's all about that attitude. It's all about that persona that comes with you, and those days of being as arrogant as Deion Sanders, I think, are over. I think people are tired of it and do not want to deal with them.
Yeah. I don't know how much of that. There's just so much weirdness around the Shedeur question mark. And it's a big question mark now as he fell like a stone from the top of the Empire State Building to the 5th round in the NFL draft. The questions about Deion, I felt that Deion handled that pretty well during his son's collegiate playing time. Once that part was over, we're going to retire his jersey number. What about Darian Hagan and Eric Bieniemy and the guys that won a national championship for the Colorado Buffaloes? We're not worried about them, but Shedeur and Travis Hunter, they should have their jerseys retired. Really? It just became so much of a circus. I don't know that played out in the draft. I don't know that that's what caused the draft. I don't know that this is Deion's kid is what caused the draft. I like to think that what caused his stock to just plummet was that these NFL scouts told Mel Kiper, dude, he's in the Big 12. I mean, he looked really good. Cool. But don't we all at practice?
That's right. That's right. When 3/4 of your schedule, you're playing high school teams, you're going to look good, and going kind of, and I wasn't planning on bringing the whole Shedeur thing up. It just kind of fell in my lap, I guess.
Like a stone from the Empire State Building?
Like a stone. No, that would hurt.
It did. Ask Shedeur. You can get his number from the Atlanta Falcons office.
That's right. You sure can. But, I think what's really crazy about that, and B, you can help me with this, right? Deshaun Watson is still there. It's questionable. He's hurt, but he's questionable.
He'll be missing at least half of the next season, if playing at all.
They have someone else already. They already have Joe Flacco. Then do they have
Kenny Pickett? I'm sorry,
and Kenny Pickett. Then they drafted Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. That's 5 quarterbacks that are trying to make a 42 man roster, 45. What is it?
52, I think.
52. Okay.
Yeah.
The dog's math is usually a little off. Sorry. But it's not many. So you're talking about, you're not going to take 10% and give it to a quarterback room. That's not going to, with 22 positions, not going to happen. So the question is, out of those 5 quarterbacks, who makes the final cut with maybe, 3? They're going to keep 3. I guess they can keep what's-his-face on injury reserve and still keep 3 more, probably.
Yep,
I don't know.
What will happen. Yeah, I predict it will be Kenny Pickett. There's no way they drop a 3rd-round pick, and I don't think they drop Sanders.
You don't think they drop Sanders?
I think Sanders is a much better quarterback than Dylan Gabriel, so I don't think there's a chance he goes before him. But who knows? We'll see.
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't have a problem with Dylan Gabriel. I tend to agree with B-Dawg. I don't have a problem with Dylan Gabriel, but I can't find a time where Dylan Gabriel had a game that just really jumped out and you looked at it and thought, that's his application to the NFL. That game, what he did in the game against fill in the blank, was his resume. He doesn't have one of those moments. I know that you were big on Bo Nix coming out of Oregon, and that's where Dylan Gabriel went after Nix was gone for his senior season, if you will, or audition season for the NFL.
Ooh,
it just didn't knock your socks off. I mean, they were Oregon. They did what Oregon does, but Dylan Gabriel didn't have a Bo Nix kind of year. Didn't have a bad year. Didn't have a Bo Nix kind of a year.
I kind of like what you just said, the audition season. I like that. You should patent that, copyright that phrase because it's good.
It's probably already taken.
Samsonite.
Wow.
But you're right. I mean, he didn't light it up, did he? He really didn't light it up every week. He did beat Ohio State. They beat Ohio State last year.
Mm-hmm.
But then when they went to the playoffs, they got thumped. They didn't. He just couldn't put nothing together. So I think if he would have won in the playoffs, he could have upped his draft stock a little bit. Just kind of like what you told Nico, up your draft stock. But I don't know, man. But anyway, back to Tennessee. It'll be an interesting ride in 2025 for them. I think so, for sure.
You going to go through the guys that are missing?
Yeah.
27 of them by my count. Is that right? Either have already transferred or are currently still in the portal?
I think it's about right, yeah. But, I mean, most importantly, the guy who ran their entire offense that outside of the quarterback position is gone.
Yep.
The SEC Offensive Player of the Year, Dylan Sampson, he's gone.
Huge loss.
Where did he go?
He is a Cleveland Brown as well.
Oh, that's right. So he went to the NFL.
He went before Shador. He went
Yep.
He went in the fourth round of the Browns.
Okay.
Him and Crenshaw and Judkins are going to run that offense now.
Ooh. Is Chubb still there?
Chubb is a free agent currently.
Oh.
Has not been signed yet.
That just goes to show you, man, running backs just don't last in the NFL long, man. He's probably about ran his course.
Chubb?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He'll get picked up by somebody.
I agree. He's going to get picked up, but he won't be a starter ever again unless injuries were to occur, of course.
Yeah, they might use him as that third down back on the goal line to push it through because, I mean, he was a horse, man. But, yeah, how long has he been in the league? 5-6 years?
Yeah, since 2019, I think, 2020.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he didn't win a natty with Georgia. He left before.
Correct.
Yeah, he came back, I think, his senior year to try to win a national championship, and it didn't work.
Yep.
So
getting back to what Tennessee lost, they got hit the hardest, in my opinion, in the wide receiver room. They lost a total of 9 players out of that room, 2 of which graduated. 7 transferred. 6 of those have already landed somewhere else. There's only one guy still hanging out in the portal that, well, maybe he could come back. Well, big whoopity-doo. He got 13 whole balls thrown to him last year. I bet we're all just hanging on with every ounce of hope that he returns.
5-star.
Exactly. But 13 targets all year for a 5-star. Be that as it may, that's where they've got a lot of work to do, and we'll talk about that in an upcoming show. They still, with the work that they've been doing at the wide receiver position, they don't have all the holes filled in that boat yet.
No. And then they got a new guy under center at some point. They got a new guy under center. Like I said, that's something we'll talk about on the forecast show. But still, they got a lot of holes, man. They got a lot of players that left. I didn't know they had that many wide receivers leaving. And look, man, you think about if you were a 5-star wide receiver coming out of high school, man, I'm a 5-star. I'm the man. And then you enter the draft, the portal, and you haven't been picked up yet. It's not a good look.
Yeah, he must not be great. But
Right.
you gotta imagine most of these departures are due to Nico, the uncertainty at the quarterback position.
Absolutely. Well, and that was one of the things that they said played out for Juice Wells when he left South Carolina, was after Rattler went in the draft and Lenoris was going to be the guy that Juice said that was one of his concerns, was how that was going to play out. I think it played out pretty well. I think Juice would have done himself a good service to have stayed, but all that's water under the bridge now. But definitely that plays into the decision-making for these receivers.
Sure it does. Absolutely. And just as well as like a head coach too. a head coach, a head coach leaves, man, a lot of people go play for that head coach because he's the head coach. That's why they
Oh,
want to go there.
I thought you were going to say that we're going to see Heupel's name in the portal next.
Could be.
He's going to transfer to UCLA.
As the water boy. Mama said.
Yeah,
What?
you go over to the offensive line, and they're getting decimated as well, though. I mean, they have one starter returning.
Yeah, that's right. They lost a lot of guys to graduation, both in the starting position and at that second tier depth. Guys that just graduated out, and the left guard, he's gone in the draft. So there's a lot of holes to fill there as well. And I would agree that's probably, I don't know that I would say that that's more so than the wide receivers, but you got to have time to throw it. So that's a big position, but then you got to have somebody to throw it to. So there's that. But to have such giant openings in both of those rooms, that's going to present a huge problem to solve this offseason.
Yeah, it sounds like you might have some chicken scratch building up. I would imagine.
There's dust in the air.
There is dust in the air.
How in the world are they 20 on the CBS list? I'm just, that blows my mind. You would think they have a good defense returning, but their best player was traded up for in the draft, James Pierce Jr. Falcons took him. So, I mean, I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know where CBS is coming from here.
So that brings us to our chicken scratch moment.
There we go.
My bad.
Brought to you by Off the Chain Kennels, OTC Kennels on Facebook and Instagram. Check them out. They know what they're doing. Maybe CBS Sports, not so much. Where do you exactly come up with the rationale? I talked about this earlier. If you're going to bring an argument to my table, you better bring the meat and the fork and the knife because we're going to cut into it.
Yeah.
I want to know how a team like Tennessee ends up in the position that they did in the way too early top 25 when you do not have an answer at quarterback. You don't. We're not going to talk about the answers that they're trying to pose with their current acquisitions in the portal, but I'm going to tell you they're failing answers. So you don't have an answer at the quarterback position. You've got more holes than a slice of Swiss cheese in the wide receiver room, and I don't believe that you could block anybody with a brick wall with the talent that you currently don't have at offensive line. So while you may end up with the best defense in the SEC, South Carolina, you're not going to score on anyone. I've got a 5-year-old daughter that needs a scholarship, Josh. I believe she can catch a ball.
She could catch something.
Maybe a cold.
Well, she's
It's still going to be more than this wide receiver room.
That's for sure. Man, when you started out this chicken scratch, man, you talking about the way too early, and you started talking about, if you're going to make a statement, back it up, bring the meat to the table. I got really hungry. I thought we were going to eat. But then you started talking about football again and kind of got disappointed. So
I gave you knowledge to chew on.
I'll take it, I guess. But I'd much rather have a big old fat piece of steak. So, the one thing that comes to mind when you like what we've already discussed this. We've already laid everything out. And look, these guys that write for CBS Sports or ESPN or any of them people that are bigger than us as of right now, not long, just give us some time. You will be asking the Chicken and Dog for all of your advice.
CBS Sports, clearly you need help.
Yeah, please call us or email us at chickenthedawg@gmail.com because we can help. But
we'll work something out. It'll be cheaper than Nico, I can promise you that.
Yeah, but as we have laid out Tennessee's what they've lost, the person that wrote this, God bless you, but I would say that you rode the short bus and probably licked a few windows in your lifetime. It does not make any sense why you would put a team like Tennessee with what they've got, and in my opinion, is a dumpster fire on their hands. You want to talk about a sinking ship? They got a sinking ship this year. They will have a down year. Again, we'll talk about that forecast show. But how you put them in there is beyond me. You, my friend, are a classic window licker.
I don't think they're going to be a top 8 team in the SEC this year. I don't see how.
I don't either. When you laid it out, man, when you lost 7 wide receivers, not a good look.
Well, and listen, all that, and we're not even talking about the fact that Dylan Sampson is not there, right?
Yeah.
So your best, most consistent, all around leader on that offensive unit is gone. So you're going to have new effort coming out of the running back room. Now, I'm not going to take away from them right now, but the massive question marks are the O-line. Can they protect a quarterback long enough that he can throw it to, I hope, someone? But then the third question is, after the O-line and wide receiver, is who exactly that's worth a flip is going to be throwing the football? Right now, there are answers written down on the page, but they aren't the right ones.
No, they are not. And it's one thing when you're stud, young, true freshman quarterback. And let me just say this real quick. All right, so Nico leaves. So yes, he was good as a true freshman. I think we all agreed the boy is talented, right? He's got some
2,600 yards. It's hard to argue that.
That's correct. But let me go through the games real quick on what their horse, and I'm going to call him as their horse, which was Sampson, did. 124 yards, 132 yards, 192 yards. Bishop had 120 against Kent State. They probably rested Sampson. Then 138 yards, 112 yards, 139 yards, 142 yards, 149 yards, 101 yards. His lowest one, 77 yards against UTEP because he rested. And then Vanderbilt, 178 yards. And then he wasn't the leading rusher.
He didn't play against Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So look at these, man. I mean, this guy was your horse, man. He was your constant. And it's unless you are a team like, and I hate to say this all the time, but I'm right. But unless you're a Georgia, unless you're a Ohio State, unless you're an Alabama or a Texas, you have that next man up. You've got those others. I mean, Georgia runs 4 or 5 deep all season long. That 2 or 3 of them are equally as good as each other. Sampson was their guy. He was their running back. He was their depth. After that, it went way downhill. And how you replace that, it's going to be bad. It's hard. Real hard.
It's more than hard. And again, when you take a step back and you look at all the personnel losses, either through draft, graduation, or portal, and then you juxtapose it against the numbers that this team put up this year. Nico set off a dumpster fire with kerosene and flare. 2,600 yards through the air, 19 touchdown passes to 5 interceptions. Think about that ratio for a true freshman in the SEC. That's pretty remarkable. And that's just the beginning at the time of his career at Tennessee. If you're operating under the auspice of the way that college football used to go, where you landed that guy and he was going to be your guy, and he stayed maybe only until through his junior year for the draft. Maybe you get lucky with a Peyton Manning, nod to Tennessee, and had somebody that went all 4 years and graduated. But you had that defining player that was going to be the centerpiece to your football team for several years, to where Tennessee was competitive this year. They deserved to be competitive this year, but you would have had even brighter things to look toward for the next season and the next season, because while Dylan Sampson was going to leave anyway, he was going to get drafted and go pro. You would have had Nico there that brought in more talent at the running back position, that brought in more talent at the wide receiver position, that would bring in more talent on the defensive side of the ball, because these guys want to play with proven winners. But instead, Nico chases some other things. Nico.
Mm-hmm.
And really burns down Tennessee's house.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can disagree with that at all. That's a great statement. Burn down their house, man. He single-handedly almost ruined their season, their upcoming season. He really did. If you really dig into it, it's not good. And I'm going to be with B-Dawg, man. I mean, I think it was you that said it. It's hard to believe that they'll even be in the top 8 in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are saying they should have paid him?
No.
Oh.
No.
That's what it sounds like. It sounds like he had that much of an impact, which he did, but I agree. I don't think you pay him. I think that you set the precedent of not doing all that.
What I think is going to help Tennessee. So here's the other side of that, right? I don't know that maybe they're only a 4-win team next year. I don't know that they're at the bottom tier of the SEC. One of the things that really impressed me, and of course, they never called and told me that this is what was going on, but one of the things that you began to hear about the Tennessee locker room was, as this thing played out with Nico, that the attitude was, that's not what we want back here. So those players, we talked about culture and we talked about what goes on behind the curtain. They knew that as good as Nico is, and it's not a deniable thing, the kid's good, right? He's got a lot of raw talent. He's got more raw talent than some of these players have polished. Okay, so there's no denying that. But the thing that these guys don't want to be around is that prima donna. The guy that's only there for the paycheck. The guy that's looking for the next opportunity to renegotiate his dollar bills. That's not what Heupel is building, and that's not what the players that are in that locker room wanted to be a part of. So when that question came back up, well, do they just go ahead and pay him? Shouldn't we just keep him? He is Nico. The Volunteers said, nah, we're good.
Bye, Felicia.
Later.
Even if that means you're sacrificing the 25 season, what it looks like.
Even if it means that. But again, what I keep going back to is, with that type of personality in a leadership position, I don't believe Nico's a leader, but he is a personality. With that type of personality in a leadership position, the wheels would have fallen off the 2025 season, whether he played in Tennessee Orange or not.
I agree, but we're definitely not looking at this roster the same. We're probably keeping half these receivers and might be bringing in a nice running back to combine with what they had already. Could be,
but it could also no. I don't disagree with that. But then again, you've got to continue to think long term. If you're Josh Heupel, the landscape in college coaching has changed, right? It's a lot like Major League Baseball. Can I buy a team that will win this year? That part is there. But these coaches also have to think about the season and the season and the season beyond. I got to buy wins now to keep my job safe, but I also have to find ways to build this program that this snowball just keeps going and going and going. So I'm not worried about landing that 5-star necessarily. I'm not worried about landing the guy that wants an $8 million NIL deal, because I've got a program in place. I've got a system in place that we win. And that by nature attracts a lot of these other players to come and win with us. And I think that that's one of those things. If you pay Nico in the immediate, you have that reflex, fine, give him what he wants and maybe he'll stop crying. Let him eat dessert before his green beans, right? If you do that with Nico, then yeah, maybe you bring some guys in next year. Maybe you keep some guys around for the 2025 season. But what happens when the baby cries again? Eventually, the big kids are going to say, I don't want to play here anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give into it, right? I mean, because if you give into it once, you give into it again, and it's just like you said, it's just a downward spiral. The snowball gets bigger. It's just not a pretty thing at all. And so
It's
yes,
unidentifiable mud in the sandbox, if you catch my meaning.
yes, I do. Um, and you also have to ask this, question. You know the question that everybody used to say all the time is WWJD, right? What would Jesus do? So what about this? If you're Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers and you're dealing with this situation with Nico, do you say, what would Georgia do? What would Ohio State do? What would what would a program? What would a blue blood, like you like to call it, program do in a situation when you got this prima donna? Would Alabama have caved into Nico, or they would have said pound sand? They'd have said pound sand.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So yeah, I think you have to look at that and look and say what would if you're trying to build your program to be one of the elite programs in there, one of the blue bloods, you have to look at what your other blue bloods are doing and kind of, I'm not saying copy them per se, but they're a blue blood for a reason. And so how do you do that?
Well, I think by and large, and I don't want to belabor this part too much, but it deserves belaboring to a degree. Part of the downward spiral of the Nico saga was not just the blue bloods, but it was college football telling Nico, that's not what we do, and that's not how we do it.
Yeah, because Tulane is not a blue blood.
Tulane is not a blue blood. That's
Dan
right.
Lanning.
Shout out to Dan Lanning at Oregon. And yes, he's going to go to UCLA, but for a fraction, first off, for gross dollars, a fraction of what he wanted, a fraction of what he was getting at Tennessee originally. But then, my guy, it costs X to live in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
It cost X times a whole smack of a lot to live in and around Los Angeles, California. Just ask Gavin Newsom how much of your money he wants, right? Like, bro, you ain't going to pocket the same amount. Don't get that new PlayStation, Nico. You cannot afford it.
No, you cannot. So,
you will be living in a van down by the river.
Down by the river. Oh, man. Or down by the beach.
No, he can't afford that parking space.
Oh, that's true. Sorry, Nico.
He ain't that broke.
Let him eat at Arby's a few times.
That's right. He ain't B-Dawg broke.
No, he's not.
Close.
He is not.
But look at, and here's the other thing, and I'll leave it alone at this. We've talked about what it cost him in terms of NIL money, in terms of finding a team that was willing to take him. Think about this. What did it cost him in terms of other sponsorship opportunities? Dr. Pepper has gotten behind DJ Ukulele. They got behind Quinn Ewers. They're not calling Nico for anything. They're not even calling him for the Eastern European version of Dr. Pepper, right? Like they don't want him to rep tap water. So what kind of other opportunities did this pursuit cost him? I think a lot of players that maybe had some inclinations to go chasing that dollar can now look at Nico and say, hey, bud, thanks. Because that was a nasty grenade that you fell on for all of us.
That's right. That's right. So when you're sitting there talking about the Dr. Pepper and stuff like they won't be calling, I got to thinking, what was that old soda, man? Back at B, you won't know this because you're young.
I don't even know where you're going with this. So
what was
don't
that
feel
old
bad.
soda? Tab? Was it Tab?
There was a Tab, yeah.
Maybe he can bring back the Tab. Maybe he can take Tab and they can bring it back to life.
No, I think if you're going to go old sodas, I think Nico is the failed New Coke. Do you remember New Coke?
Oh, I do.
Do you
I
remember
do.
how it didn't work and we
It
went
did.
back to Coke Classic? Like
Yes.
B-Dawg, they used to just call it Coca-Cola. Now it's called Coca-Cola Classic because during the late 80s, they tried to sneak some stuff in on us called New Coke. It was a train wreck.
Them sneaky dogs.
They went back. I think that's what's going to happen. And listen, I'll bring it home here. I hope Nico can go classic Nico at UCLA and prove that, okay, I've learned my lesson, rebuild some of that draft stock. You ain't going first round now, pal. I'm sorry. But you can still get in the league. You can still prove yourself, and you can still make some money playing a game that I think at one point you liked. I'm assuming that's what got you here.
Yeah, that's right. Um, Look, man, guys. I mean, I think we beat this whole thing down. We're going to be you're going to be doing their forecast show in a few weeks, so we got a lot to talk about. You know what their upcoming season looks like, who they've brought in from the transfer portal. It should be a fun show. I think we'll really enjoy it. But look, I've got nothing else. B, you got anything?
Nope. They had other than Sampson, they had one dude drafted. That was James Pierce. He's a Falcon. So other than that, man, they didn't have a great draft year.
What about you, Chicken? You got anything else?
I'm all crowed out.
Yeah, that's what I thought you was gonna say. All right, guys, keep following us. Keep liking us, share, subscribe to us, man. Everything's moving in the right direction as far as Chicken and the Dog podcast, man. Check us out. Really go on YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'd really appreciate that. Love you. Deuces.
Bye.